Medina dancing, warning out, Yemameta. Meman and Quanchi, Kuro Wale so, Nama Boniti, Achamasena. Meshirani din the Medina dansi Bonia.
A member of executive of FIDA in Ghana and also a senior partner at NAHO Law Consultants. So with a clap of him, let's call upon our lawyer, Irene Aborchie-Nyahe. Mommy, please, you are welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Irene Aborchie-Nyahe. I'm an executive member of FIDA Ghana. I mean, not all of you have heard about FIDA Ghana before. So, FIDA Ghana is an organization that seeks to the welfare of women and children. So, I am at home. Wherever women are gathered, we are very happy to be with them because we have the mandate to seek welfare of women and children in Ghana. So I'm very happy to be here. I've been enjoying the program so far. And I didn't want to stand on top of your heads. I want us to sit down and talk like sisters and understand each other. So if you see me in black, it's just that this is our uniform. Lawyers are always wearing black. And so I have not lost anybody. All right, so Irene is enough. Lawyer, we shelve it. If you call me Irene, I will respond. All right. So, congratulations to all of you for the celebration. And I wish that I could participate in the rest. And so today we are talking about domestic violence. Domestic violence is a very important topic. And I admire the organizers for remembering to allow us to come and discuss this topic because it is very, very important. Usually, when you are growing up, you have the desire to fall in love, have a home, marry, have a home, and then raise children in peace. So that is our desire. All of us, that is what we desire. But unfortunately, when we arrive, we encounter a lot of problems. But for the grace of God, most of us would have been somewhere else, but we thank God for his mercies. So today, we will discuss domestic violence, the role of the church. As for the role that the church will play is very, very significant. Especially what we hear is that if you are a woman and you are going through abuse, oh, just keep quiet and pray. And people have been doing that for years, and some of them do not live to tell their story. And I've been talking about domestic violence for almost 15 years now, but today is the day that I will do a presentation after the death of our sister Osinachi, and I'm dedicating this particular presentation to her. And wherever she is, may her soul rest in peace, particularly because she was a dedicated Christian. She wanted to comply with the rules. God hates divorce. God hates divorce. And despite the difficulties, I don't have any evidence that she died at the hands of the husband, but that is the information we have. So I am particularly touched. This is the first Mother's Day celebration that the children had to experience without the presence of their mother. And sometimes we don't believe that our husbands can kill us. You don't believe, but it can happen. Let me tell you why it can happen. The abuse has patterns. And sometimes it starts with very little disrespect. And then you say that, oh, he's a man, or your bema, or your bema. So we always have an excuse, as if your bema is a license to misbehave, or your ba. Mind you, men also go through abuse. Women abuse men very regularly. So if you hear me, if you hear something about women, please remember that men also suffer abuse, and children as well. So, Oyo Bema, oh, he's your head, he's the head of the family. So every form of abuse, which we'll soon learn, we'll learn the different types very soon. You will accept and say, oh, because of the children. And what abusers do is that they get tired of the first step and they increase it. And then that one too, they get tired of it and it keeps increasing. So initially, oh, foolish woman, clear from here. And then he gets tired of that. Then he will push you. Then that one too, you get tired of that one. Then one day, you just use something and throw at you. It graduates. It graduates gradually. I always say that no man will get up and say, today, I'm going to kill my wife. No man will say that. But it is just the lack of management of the anger. So because you always tolerate the anger, it gets to a point where he thinks that, because all the attacks, she's not feeling it. So today, let me hit her hard. Or let me push her. Like what we heard about Lillian Dejo. The husband probably pushed her through the staircase, on the ground, boom, hit the head on the ground. And then she died. So nobody wakes up and says, I'm coming to kill my wife. No. It is just that when they start abusing you gradually, it gets to a point where you lose your life, unfortunately. So we will learn the various forms of abuse and probably try to guard against it. Usually, men don't like, and the women fellowship, they don't like hearing about FIDA and the women's rights, women empowerment things, but we have to listen because we have lost a very important person. And I have about hundreds of pictures of women that died in their marriages. I didn't want to depress you by showing you pictures of women. I even have a video of women going through abuse in their homes. One woman just asked the husband, oh, can I serve you dinner? And that is the problem she created. Stupid woman, don't you know that I will eat? Foolish girl, your mother didn't train you. Then on top, started hitting her, and gave the camera to their son to record the abuse as he beats and slaps and stamps this woman. Every day we have to be at police station, husbands using iron on people's body and all kinds of things. And sometimes when you go and try to arrest, then the women come back crying. Oh, leave him. He's just... So. And then the family members are calling me. Let him go. What will the children eat? So it's a balancing act. But we will learn something this evening. So let's start by going through the acts. And then before I will also go through the acts, let me just say that even if you have not heard anything this evening, I want you to remember two things. One, that society tried to put a lot of burden on women in particular. And we have also accepted the burden and live with it and teach our next generation about the burden. For example, men and our society, we don't want to solve problems. So if something is happening between a woman and maybe another woman is sleeping with your husband, they say women are their own enemies. Women are not their own enemies. We have bad people, we have bad men, and we have bad women. Women are not their own enemies. We have accepted that all the time. Women are their own enemies. So why is it that men go to war and kill each other, but men are not their enemies? Men are not their own enemies. It is only women. They are always their enemies. Why should we accept that women are their own enemies? If we accept, then nobody's going to solve any problem. Then we'll leave them to go and rot. If the marriage breaks down, it is the woman who is supposed to make sure the marriage survives. Two people are in marriage. If the marriage succeeds, oh, she got a good husband. If the marriage fails, she's a useless woman. She couldn't survive in the marriage. Every bad thing is the woman who have to make sure it is done. All right. So, what is domestic violence? According to our laws, it is I didn't bring my spectacle, but I hope I will be able to read from afar. It's engaging in any act. You know, we have the Criminal Offences Act, which is the general act that we had before the domestic violence was passed. In the past, when there are issues between parties in the domestic settings, and you go to the police station, the police man will tell you that, no, this is a family matter. We don't handle family matters at the police station. And then with time, Ghana realized that, as I indicated earlier on, that people are dying as a result of the violence. So through the efforts of the FIDA Ghana and some other organizations internationally, the Domestic Violence Act was passed in 2007. So I'm supposed to be speaking Tree too, but I have problem with Tree, unfortunately. So I'll be trying. So you will find laws in respect of domestic violence in the Domestic Violence Act. So what is domestic violence? Any act, if you engage in an act in the domestic setting, is domestic violence. So what that means is that if you are in your home, any form of violence, be it physical, emotional, economic, and what have you, is domestic violence. This I should miss with Tree and Gan. Sunday Baba. Yeah. So as for Gan, it's completely gone. But yes, but I can speak some Tree, which is not the best, but I will try. Enti Nyaya Kani say, yeah, call me am a nevel from Agbozume. So I should speak ever. I'll prefer ever English. If you say ever, I'll start right now. So, yeah, per se, yeah, drink yama be home and a joey. Efa yakayaka and yakaka dia and I say problems. I have fame warrior warrior any if you a sitting them a way if you. Na and ye be drink yama emran aka edia to her say, yeah, 5 years like we will learn it. Ye best ya. Send a bear at the end of the meeting, ye be who say, hey, a dear domestic violence. Bia misumi ye bibin so na minim say domestic violence. Inti ye be hwe emrano mu ahwe say e dey na domestic violence. After going through that, I should say, what are the solutions available for us in the country and in our organizations? So, but Nyamaka edi kind say, bia obia ni ho a ana okrun bi ani ho be sorry say ene dem ikokumiri there be, but sometimes ebufu a nipa na anhwe su anye ni yie ana say ebufo keke na ose okobu no obepushi no na ne ti akobo edan na bibi na ewu aba enti eya yenhwe yie na ye manage ebufo na say ye pese ye hu emra baby a ye be hu emra no domestic violence emra no de na ye hu dia domestic violence act as well as the criminal offences act. Criminal Offences Act no a general act na yedi ewo ho dada. And sana yedi domestic violence which is so specific to violence yedi ebeka ho. So let's quickly look at the types of abuses that you can encounter in your daily lives. Now we have an example of physical abuse which is very, very common. You can abuse me without touching my body. You can abuse me without touching my body. So if you are abusing me and you are contacting me physically, it becomes physical abuse. And the examples are the slapping, kicking, stamping, pushing, physical abuse. Na koye physical. Obi bo wasuma physical abuse. Or push you now ubo form and I say or the ni hu count in any way. Aboro any nema na physical abuse. There was sexual abuse. Ahamunti ni ye. Time na ye mame no omo kwa aware ase no. Omo awonim se omo befa ekwan bi so aware ani omo kurada. Se information a ye eba no asenia mamu asisa. Wo be ware wadwen me se woni wuku beda e wo kwan we so. Ba wo akodu ho no. O see kneel down back like a dog. Turn yourself around. Where you visit the toilet, that is why I want to use, which is sexual abuse. And a lot of women have kept quiet because they don't want their marriages to break down. And then they are giving their backside to their husbands so that there will be peace, so that we can survive in this marriage. It is sexual abuse. As far as we will say it. It is sexual abuse because that is not the God way of having sex. But you said that, oh, if I don't give that part to him, he will leave me. Do you know the diseases that you are going to encounter or have call upon yourself? Or all kinds of types of sexual encounters that you have never envisaged in your life. Then you go and encounter it. You don't like it. So you are being abused. Sometimes sexual abuse, another example is that you have been probably beaten or abused or you've been but to show you say me na me your boss no I rape you. Hello, there is rape in marriage. Please, your husband can rape you. You are a human being, Oba, you are a human being with value. You are not just an object beer for pleasure for the man. If you say stand up, sit down. This one, I know it is women fellowship, all right. You're supposed to go and be cleaning, sweeping, washing. Nobody say women should not do that. But you should not be abused. So that if I come home and I see something on the ground, hey, Ajua, pa! Meanwhile, he also has 10 fingers, so he can just pick that thing and put in the dustbin. But he has been trained and he believes that women are supposed to be cleaning, sweeping, washing. That is where the abuse comes. Women, nobody say you should not clean. Please get me right. Or sweep or clean. Because even now, you're supposed to do it because now when you go to court, if you don't clean, sweep, and wash, we will not give you part of the house. When there's divorce, it is your washing, your cleaning, your sweeping. Now the Supreme Court has put value on your sweeping, your cleaning, your washing as your contribution to the house. So no man can say, oh, this is my house. If you are paying a cleaner, if you are paying a washman, if you are paying a cook and a sex person or whoever every day, where will you get the money from and buy the cement? So they have put value on the work you are doing in the house. So nobody said, don't go and take care of your home, clean and sweep. No, do it. But we just don't want to make it like, if you don't do it, you are a bad woman. You're not a bad woman. Do you get it? So, and for that matter, you should be beaten as a result of not sweeping the room today because you're not feeling like, you don't feel like sweeping. That is just by the way. As for me, if you give me the whole day. So let's summarize the types of abuse. Anytime I say something you don't understand, you can raise up your hand. So we are going through the different types of abuse. We've discussed the physical abuse. Into abuse, no, you were acquiring different. You bet to me different types. Say ni panel edit ni body like physically beating you. It's physical abuse. Say offer or acquiring and say so sexually no so abuse. Okay, what about economic abuse? So let me give you a typical example of economic abuse. When you were going to marry, they said, oh, about dear, it is good to be submissive. But yankodu baby na submission na koye abuse no. Eya na difference ni dan ye hu ne clearly. So uba or see oh, una oye oba no ntitina se. Na hwe nkwala no then I will be doing the work. So instantly they have taken away your economic power. Meanwhile, you are a human being. Remember, you have your dreams, you have your aspirations, you have a larger family. Your aunties, your nieces, your nephews, some of them may be looking for money from you. But boss, see, okay, submission. You have agreed. So the moment you have agreed, which is your personal choice, nobody's saying don't, then now, if you ask for money, stupid woman, can't you see your friends in town? Look at what they are building up. They are achieving things. And you are here, every day, give me money for salt, give me money for matches, give me money for slippers. Is it because of my money that is why around me? All kinds of things that you have never envisaged in life. Forgetting that when you enter, he said, do not work, stay in the house. So anytime you need something that has to do with money, you will be talked to anyhow. Or he will ensure that if he gives you money, then he will withdraw the money. That is also a form of abuse. So that you will suffer as a result. Now let's quickly talk about emotional and verbal abuse. As for verbal, it's very common. Kwasia, abwa, wejimi, the verbal ones. And then the psychological abuse, the person doesn't say anything to you. But what he is doing, his conduct, is worse than slapping you. Some people will come and sit by you. There's a woman, some of the examples I'm using, there are things that come to me personally. They will intentionally come and sit in the sitting room when you're there. Hey, Ajwa. And then they will do an ear de pao. Near if you have said being. The person did not beat you. But the person is intentionally causing emotional trauma. That's psychological abuse. He's saying things to make you feel less a human being, to make you feel useless. And then you so that you go down and then you start going on the internet how to cook. Meanwhile, you can cook. But you've been brainwashed to believe that you are a useless person. So you are going around, you are like a wind, you don't know what to do. Hey, I don't want this marriage to spoil. Meanwhile, you haven't done anything. You are just being abused and you are lost. So take a break and believe in yourself that you are great. God has created you very well. You are not the problem. Because I don't think women go into marriages and I don't see, maybe I could be biased, but I don't see it like that. But sometimes, I'm not saying there are no bad women. I have encountered bad women in my life. And I know there are bad women out there. But we are talking about in terms of percentages and the things we are dealing with on a daily basis. So the man or the woman, if I say the man, it doesn't mean women do not abuse. Because I said that earlier on. It's just that the numbers with the other sexes are more. Women abuse men. Especially the verbal abuse. They are the number one. Who's your bema? Share your friends in town. Share Kojo, Wasini Danwe, Kwasia Bema, who are there. I mean, also trying to demean the man so that the man doesn't feel like me. What men, their ego is all they have. The moment you crush that ego, then he goes around to sleep with 20 women so that you prove a point that I'm the boss. So the verbal abuse is also very common, and emotional abuse from women. And then, so as for me, as for the psychological abuse, if you cook, you will not eat. It's not that, just to make sure that you don't feel happy or comfortable in the house. And then we can talk about harassment, which we have already highlighted about the sexual harassment already. Okay, so generally, if the person engages in any behavior that can harm you, or, try to take away your privacy or your security or your dignity and worth as a human being. So any act that the person engages in, idea obi bayo ebayo say inti mi minye nipa na, like it will reduce you in life. All those forms of abuse. Now, before you can fall under the Domestic Violence Act, you need to be in a relationship with that person, a domestic relationship with that person. Inti say uwa awaria say you are in a domestic relationship. Say only nipa no twimpana, you are in a domestic relationship. Say nipa no abe engage you so be worry, you are in a domestic relationship with that person. And say only nipa na wo, it's a domestic relationship. Say who share obi ba, or you are a parent to somebody else, or fostering a child. And elderly persons and all your blood relations, they are in a domestic relationship. BBC or wuni sankrofo ni ntema ebeba domestic violence ni law na say. And now say we are tenants e wo fie na mu kuntoko ani nyina is a domestic violence issue. And umu house helps, uji house helps are wo ye ni basa. It's a domestic violence problem. So stop knocking your house helps, kicking them, using benkuta on their faces. If you don't want your house help, send her away. Don't go and be beating, slapping, kicking. You say your husband shouldn't do that to you. And then say, Jimmy, the insult, please. It's all domestic violence. We just want to live in peace and be happy. Once we wait for the heavens to come, then we enjoy. So don't create hell for anybody on earth. So there are times you don't know whether you're in a domestic relationship with a person. It's not very clear. For example, you go to school or you are in church. Now it is imagined that violence within the church is domestic violence. So all those who have been calling people, slapping them on the ground, fall on the ground, stamping them, that the spirit is on them. Go and carry cement, walk from here to Accra. The spirit says do that. It's all forms of abuse. So domestic violence can take place in a church. I have not seen Jesus Christ slap anybody before, but he is our example. But now the new churches that are emerging, it appears that it's a theater of drama and abuse. So if any form of violence, all the types that I have just mentioned, if it's taking place within the church, it falls within the Domestic Violence Act. And then school, teachers. Because there are times it is not very clear whether the parties are in a domestic relationship. But if you spend a lot of time with a person, like you go and spend 8 hours in your work, or 5 hours in school, you spend longer time, or you come to church, you spend long time here, and then deal with people regularly, it can fall within the Domestic Violence Act. So, and if you encounter any such thing, you can go to the nearest domestic violence center. All right, let's talk about this. About Section 4 of the Domestic Violence Act. There was a time that we were watching TV on Facebook, then we saw a certain pastor beating 2 young children, saying that one impregnated the other, and then he invited the rest of the pastors to join in the beating, slapping. They were like using their belts. So I filed a complaint at the Dofsu, because I suspected that the violence took place around the Tema. So when the pastor was eventually arrested, we went to court. I was the complainant. Then the children that were beaten said that, oh, it is our own father. We said he should beat us. So they are trying to make me a busybody. But the Section 6 of the Act allows anybody with information of the violence. So if you are too shy to go and report, but somebody is aware that you are being abused, that person that is aware can go and file the report. Some people are too much in love. Last week, they said there is a woman. The man is always beating and says she's in love. Some people are gifted with love. Yes. Some people are gifted. So she said she is in love. So we were arranging for a person with information. So I was a person with information, so I had a qualification. Now, my rescue, after the children came and said, oh, yeah, Papa, was he, I don't want to mention the pastor's name, but I suspect you can all know. So, Section 4 of the Domestic Violence Act says that the use of any form of violence in a domestic situation is not justified on the basis of consent. You cannot go to court and say that I consented to the violence. No. So if we, the busybodies, find your husband and we send him to court, you can't come and say, oh, Munjai no, miana misi ombo masum. If we have evidence, your husband will face it. Nobody wants to divide families. That is not our focus. In fact, there are other ways. We have mediation, we have counseling, at the domestic violence unit too. Everybody thinks that when you report your husband to domestic violence, then you want him to go to jail. It's not true. You see, when somebody is sick, you take the person to hospital. Domestic violence, when your husband is sick with abuse, then you go and explain that. And let me tell you something very important. Some of our partners are mentally disturbed. They have mental problems, but we don't know. We just assume that, oh, oni subain, but the person is sick. Some also abuse substances. Maybe you are fortunate, you have found yourself in church, your husband is a good person, but I'm talking generally for the whole country. Unfortunately, that's how it is, though we are in church. Some of them have mental problems. And what they are doing, they themselves, they don't know that it is abuse. So at the domestic violence session, you can request for mediation, you can request for protection orders. If time permits, what time is it now? We will discuss the different forms of solutions we have. You can request for